Hi everybody, and welcome to my first live video. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I hope you're having a great one. The first thing I need to say is thank you to everybody who has commented and liked and shared the videos that I've been sharing on my Facebook. And I really appreciate that, you guys are enjoying them. So I'm pretty excited to be here with you today live. And I'm also here to tell you that I'm going to be going live every day. I'm not sure exactly what time yet, but you'll always be able to see the replay just in case you miss it. So I'm going to be coming to you live every day. I get a little emotional thinking about it, golly. And people are here, hello, to share my ideas as a language facilitator. Let me get it together. Okay, so the topic for today is about what is an intuitive speech-language pathologist. Whew. So my journey to get here was kind of a nutty one. I've worked for 30 years in the system. I'm getting teary. I've worked 30 years in the system with families who sort of came to me with no choice of their own. They came to me and they were assigned to, just work with me because I was working for the government system or the clinic or the hospital or wherever. And so families came to me and I helped them, and it was working great until the system started to require me to do a lot of pigeonholing. It all came down to the diagnosis bit. And so I was having to screen kids for autism as young as 9 months old, and these were the things that the contracts were expecting me to do. So anyway, wow, 3 people are here, so say hello and hi if you should join me, if you can like it and let me know where you're from. I think that would be amazing. So again, thanks for joining me today. So anyway, I got to tell you who I am. My name is Marcy Melzer, and I am an intuitive speech-language pathologist. And I am here to share with you why parents and me as a speech pathologist, why it's important that we use our intuition as a way for us to help kids learn to use language naturally. And so, like I said, I was just kind of talking about my journey, and I used to work in the system, and the system was consistently requiring me to pigeonhole families and put them into categories by their diagnosis or whatever their labels were. And in many cases, I didn't even do the evaluation. I was just the assigned therapist to see the child. So for me, I always looked at those reports, and they were, helpful, of course, to identify what the scores are saying that the kids were doing. But ultimately, I just had to assess the situation and find out what's going on and really get to know the child and find out what they were using for communication, because obviously it wasn't words, because they were there to see me as a speech therapist, or I came to their house to see them because they weren't using words. So I was trying to figure out what it is that, it takes to get kids to actually start to use words. And that's when I started to really kind of tune into, what do these behaviors mean, and what's going on, and why are they doing this to communicate, and why aren't they using words? And so what I started to do was to really tune into understanding why they're not, like what is resisting kids from being able to try to use words, like something's stopping them. Because these moms that I worked with consistently were all working really hard with their kids to try to get them to do stuff, but they just weren't doing it for them, and they would do it for me. So, that was pretty cool. Like, I was getting them to do things, and I was like, well, what's different about what I do than what parents do? And when the system started to get kind of crazy about, requiring all this diagnosis, I started to think about what if I could work in a way with families to kind of bypass the system and not worry about the diagnosis at all, and just focus on what it takes to get kids to actually, want to work with you, to actually want to try to use words instead of, overcome that resistance. So what I did was I figured out, in the evolution of my own practice and my own life, how to get out of the system and start to work with the families. And that's where Waves of Communication came from. Now I'm going to get emotional again. So anyway, what it is really cool about is that what I figured out is how to use this intuitive connection that I've had with families to be able to help them to continue to do improvements their own ways in their own homes and see improvement that way. So that's how I developed this program. And what I did was I decided to, come to you today to share with you like what it is about my intuition and about the intuition of the families that I work with that is the key. So basically, to talk about intuition itself, by the way, I see more people are joining. I know I'm stopping in midway, but I'm really excited that this is my first live. Thank you all so much for joining. There will be a replay, so just in case you're just joining me now, you'll be able to catch the replay later and share it with your friends. So thanks again, and let me know where you're coming from. And if you do happen to be popping in later for the replay, go ahead and put a 2 in the comment section. And if you're here right now live, go ahead and put a 1 in the comment section so that I can kind of get a feel for how many people are able to join me here and how many people are, joining me later on. Because I am going to be coming live every day, you guys. So hopefully they'll get better and stronger. And if there is anything that you want to know about, put that in there too. So thanks so much. All right. So anyway, basically, here's the definition of intuition. It is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. And so when I looked at that definition and tried to figure out how to explain it to you, I thought that's exactly what happens with the parents that I talk with so much. It is, I ask them, what are your kids doing? How do you know what they want? They're not using words, obviously. They're using behaviors or something else like that. And they're going to say, what are they using? And they're, and the parents just kind of say, I just know. And, well, of course, that doesn't help me so much in trying to figure out what the kids are using to communicate, but it's a really good start because if you as a parent know what your child is trying to communicate with you, using whatever they're using, behavior, telepathy, any of that stuff, because I'm telling you what, there is that intuitive connection because just as much as you know what your child is trying to communicate to you, they know that you know. It's like that eyeball thing, that I know that you know, that I know but you know, all that stuff. That's intuition and telepathic communication. I know it's kind of crazy, and I'm saying it, and I'm owning the woo-woo about it, because that's what it is. You guys, parents with their kids, you have this tight communication connection with them, this intuition that you actually kind of can get stuck in. And what happens with parents, and this is what I figured out. So every parent uses this intuitive connection as an accommodation. Because if your child's not communicating with words, you're actually accommodating that by knowing in your head whatever they do. So what typically happens, here's a good example. Child, I just talked to a mom today. Child is 9 years old, a 9-year-old boy who isn't using words to communicate. And when he wants something, because I asked his mom, like, so how do you know what he wants? And she said, he starts to cry. And I said, wow. So here's this mom who is understanding, I said, well, how do you know what it is? And she said, well, he's very motivated by food, and I put this food on the counter, and I wasn't ready to cook it yet because I was doing other things, and he went and stood by the food and started to cry. And I said, so you knew what he wanted because he was standing by the food, but you also knew that he wanted you to cook it somehow. Well, maybe because she's cooked that meal 1,000 times before, or, any of those other things. But the point is, she just went ahead and started cooking food. And her boy somehow communicated that he was ready for her to cook right now, and she went ahead and jumped on, did that, and all he had to do was cry. So what he's using right now to communicate is working. And that same boy, she told me, is in speech therapy with the speech therapist, and the speech therapist is playing with balls and doing super fun things, and she's getting him to use words once in a while. She even last week got him to imitate words for her. But this mom is using her intuition to understand what her child wants, and that's all he has to do is think about it, cry a little, show her a behavior, and the communication worked. So what I told her is, what I do with these language facilitator parents is I actually swap it out and shift it up for them. So instead of using your intuition as an accommodation to get the communication message, I actually have you use it as a tool to, and what did I write down here? Because I wrote these good notes as I was thinking about it. Yeah, to change it actually to facilitate language with it. So what you do is you understand that message and you interpret it in your head just kind of knowing. But the next step, and this is what the language facilitator parents do, is they actually swap it out and show the child in that moment exactly what they want them to communicate, to tell them the message they need. So yeah, with this plan that I developed for parents, I go through and we look at and analyze all those different little areas of their life where they're like, those times that they just use their intuition. I'm like, in this case, how do you know what he wants? Well, XYZ behavior happens. And what do you want him to communicate? Then that's what you tell them. And that's how I help you, and I structure it so that, you're able to start with wherever you are, nonverbal communication. In the case of the lady I talked to on the phone today, her little boy is just crying. And, you need to move from that into the verbal world. And that's what my own personal calling, I guess that's where it kind of all comes into way, is, that's how parents are using their intuition. But how I'm using my intuition is to help parents to understand the feelings and energy and emotion that their kids are using to communicate, and to use that to facilitate language. But what's more important is to use that understanding and knowledge that you already have inside you to overcome their resistance to trying words. Because like I said before, all these language facilitator moms that I have worked with, they all have tried everything. Every program, every flashcard, everything that they can get from their parents or from their other speech therapists, and they're trying to use them as resources, and they go home and they're like, what am I going to do? My kid's not doing it for me. And that was what was happening to me when I was working in the clinics and in the systems and out in early intervention. Was I'd go to the house, show the parents how to do stuff, and then I'd leave, and the novelty of me or the bag of toys I brought or whatever it was coming off. So I had to show parents how to use their intuition and overcome whatever is resisting their child. And in every case, it's different. And that's kind of what, my personal, I guess, talent that I bring. The reason that I tell people that I'm an intuitive speech language pathologist and not just a speech pathologist is because every speech pathologist has access to the tips and tricks and how to take a child from point A to point B. But what I do that's a little bit different, and what I've been able to bring to this particular program in this format, and work with families literally all over the world. And what I'm doing is I'm able to do it by empowering them as parents to understand what their kids' resistance are to using words, and then overcome those resistance, and then use that intuitive knowledge that you automatically have with your child and go ahead and teach them how to use the language that I show you with the speech therapy knowledge stuff, how to go from step A to step B, and every little bit in between. Because the thing is, the bottom line, and this is the most important thing, and if you can relate to this, go ahead and give me a like. If you can get your kid to overcome trying, like they don't want to try words, if you can get them to overcome that resistance to trying and make it fun and happy, wouldn't your kid learn to do anything? Think about what you have already taught them. And that's the other thing about these late talkers. Their parents have been able to teach them amazing things. One of my moms had her kids doing laundry. Another mom's got her kid using Alexa to request the videos that she does. I mean, I'm telling you, you guys as parents are incredibly powerful. And when you harness the natural, intuitive knowledge and connection that you have with your child, it is incredibly, incredibly powerful. And the parents that I'm talking to over and over and over again are really, really embracing this and finding so such amazing things. There's Carolyn. Sorry, I just saw Carolyn, and I had to make her note because Carolyn is a language facilitator mom. Hi, Carolyn, and hi, Monty and Brianna. I see you guys too. Thank you so much for joining. If you are just joining me, it's okay. It's going to be recorded, and it is being recorded, and it's going to be rebroadcast. So you're just going to be able to view them. And just so you know, I'm going to be going live every day. So if there is something that you want to know about, go ahead and put that in the comments because I could put it in another video, especially if I'm going to be coming to you every day. All right, so anyway, Carolyn says, Makai was afraid to say it wrong. And what an amazing thing for us to be able to figure it out. You know, when he started to be able to, you know, when Carolyn was able to get him to start to use words and be successful with it and be okay with making mistakes. You know, finally he was like, you know, it's okay to do it right and it's okay to do it wrong. Carolyn, of course, was embracing every try he had. And because she was getting excited when he was talking, he was getting excited about it because that's the other thing. Every kid wants to make their parents happy just as much as you want to make your kids happy. They want to make you happy innately. They just want to see you happy because happy mom, happy household. Happy dad, happy household. When mom and dad aren't happy, kids are not happy. And that, again, is all about understanding the energy of the household. And what has been so exciting, and this is the most exciting part before I get out of here today, because I know I'm keeping you guys, and I appreciate everybody popping in. But what's so cool about, you know, this whole situation is that when these families get their kids, and I'm going to get emotional, when these families get their kids talking, their whole household changes. Like, they are so happy. And I have to disclaimer right here, I'm a leaker. That's just how the universe lets me know that I'm on the right path. So anyway, chill out, let me get a drink. Okay. Phew. All right. Thanks so much. Okay. So anyway, these kids start to use words successfully, and they give up all of the behaviors that were the behaviors of communication instead of the words of communication. So these kids are just doing, you know, they give up the gestures, they give up the tantrums, they give up the whining, they give up the screaming, and they, because they replace it with words, and words are much easier and much happier. And when all those other behaviors go away, literally the energy in their households is talking. And you know, my first language facilitator mom that I worked with online, and I never met them, and I've never met any of these kids. My family's, I live in Florida, and these guys are in Washington, D.C. and Idaho. Hi, you guys out there. I know you'll be watching. There's Valerie, and you know, I know Valerie was on there too, and Valerie's in Georgia, and you know, they've just done amazing, amazing things. And so what I want to tell you right now is that you have the ability to increase the energy and happiness in your household by teaching your child to communicate. And that's really my mission. That's my whole point of being here, is to be here with you, to help you embrace your child's communication, get them out of that intuitive communication mode and into the real world, using their words with everyone in their environment and increasing the energy and happiness in your household. And that's my mission, is to increase the energy in the household. I help parents teach their late talking children to use the words they need to share their wisdom with the world. And if you want to learn more about how you can be a language facilitator parent, you can check out my website, wavesofcommunication.com. You can leave a comment here. You can send me a private message, and you know, pretty much any other way. On the website, there's all kinds of ways to contact me too. There's also lots of articles and information there. So I'm going to let you go for today. Thank you so much for everybody who's watching. I see that Luce just got here. Hi, and Nikki. These are my buddies, and I'm so glad that you're here to share with my first live video. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a great one.